Okay, welcome to another class of 84. Mike, what are we calling these? I got Mike Schmaltz with me tonight, and we've got a picture up for Mike because he wanted to
I
show a picture of his
I
friend.
still
Go ahead,
I
Mike.
still think the driftwood squares,
So we're going to start calling these the Driftwood Squares, huh?
kind of like Hollywood squares.
I like that. I don't know if we have to come up with an official name today, but what did I put for the ones we did out there? I called them. Going to go to that channel real quick on YouTube. Lancer Talk. So I'll just say for tonight, Mike, we're going to call this the third edition of Lancer Talk. Edition 1 was Faith Walston Zitnick.
Yep.
Edition 2 was Nancy Canola Polker.
Yep.
And number 3, Michael Schmaltz. Mike, what's your middle name?
Alan.
Michael Allen Schmaltz. Allen or Alan?
No, I spelled it the correct way. Alan.
Thank you. Okay. I'm glad we got that out. The
Two
correct
L's
way.
means it's a last name.
So just so you know, anybody ever watching this podcast that's named Allen, Allen, you just offended them and told them their spelling was wrong.
Yep.
All right. So we've got Mike. And Mike, let's start with a real quick one. You wanted to let everybody know tonight. Well, first of all, you're coming to us live from your apartment. Where do you live?
I live right in town in St. Joseph, about at 200 or 300 yards south of downtown.
Nice. So you're close to St. Joe, even though you grew up in Stevensville, you went to the dark side and are living in the enemy territory.
So to speak.
I'm giving you a hard time. I don't live back there, and I think St. Joe is lovely. We probably have a lot of people that are lovely, people that we know that live in St. Joe. Okay, so Mike, and the picture you wanted us to show for everybody today that's up on the screen right now, do you want to give a little bit of a description just so we know what we're looking at?
That's just my friend Jennifer. I've known her for 40 years. She went to LMC. She's been out to California 3 or 5 times living out there. She lived in South Carolina. Finally moved back home about a month ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
So
that
it's
picture was taken after she got me to an eye doctor appointment. And she was trying to speed things up. And I'm like, I'm not sure that can happen. She says, well, in that case, you're just going to have to come with. We went to her mom's place just south of Berrien Springs and had tacos for dinner and homemade cherry pie. And I got to meet her 10-year-old niece, and it was unexpected, but absolutely awesome.
She sounds lovely, and I'm really glad that she's back in your neck of the woods. So you've got someone else for your support system. We all need that.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'm going to stop that, and instead, I'm going to show something else. And I hope you'll indulge me to show this. And tell me if you can see it, Mike. I'm going to show it to the group, but I don't know if you can see it.
That looks like the collage I put on our group page on Facebook, but I can't see the individual pictures.
Well, let's
I'm,
start
I'm
with it, Mike. So let's get the class to know you a little bit because you and I were friends a long time ago, and I know we've got some funny stories, but I've always considered you a great friend. But in all those years, and we probably don't want to bore the class with some of the silly things we did together, but I don't know that I know a lot about you after high school. Like, we knew each other during high school, knew a little bit about your family, also knew that you went to University of Michigan afterwards because I visited with you when I was up at Central Michigan. But after that, I don't know a lot. So let's start with the easy.
and I remember visiting you up at Central
Yep.
in Mount Pleasant, and we got kicked out of some frat parties, so we pissed on their keg.
Nice. So I
And
think is hopefully the statute of limitations has run out on all our crimes from those days. But Mike, when you were
hopefully,
growing up, I remember coming to see you lived. Did you live out by Hollywood? Where'd you live? I can't remember what road you lived on.
Tilly Road. It was halfway between Hollywood and Scottdale Road, between John Beers and Marquette Woods.
Yeah, Tilly. And what's the story of your dad had some of the most amazing cars, small ones, almost looked like a Yugo 40 years ago. I don't know, though some of those cars were so unique. What was the story behind all that?
Dad just had a I'm not sure what the word is. He loved to collect foreign cars, and the smaller the better, because he wanted, he was an electrical engineer. He wanted to create an electric car.
Wow, all those years
So
ago?
if you think about it, instead of Teslas, we could all be driving Schmaltzes.
That would be pretty awesome. Except for if you were like him, you'd be in the White House pissing people off and then they'd be burning down your cars.
Yeah.
Wow. So your dad thought about electric cars like we're talking like what? 50s, 60s, 70s?
This was 80s, 90s.
Still think about that. That's crazy. All right. So he was an early, and I remember he was a little bit of a genius guy. You said he was an electric engineer. So you had dad, a mom. I can't remember your whole family. Give me some more about your family. Who else you had in the house?
Well, my mom and dad were divorced when I was like 5. And I had to go live with Grandma Schmaltz out in Baroda, farmland, while they went through their divorce. My dad remarried. I think I was in 2nd grade. My dad remarried. I got 2 stepbrothers. One of them was Larry Barnes. We were the exact same age, a couple months apart. But no, we struggled, but we got along as a family, if that makes any sense. Now I'm just thankful for the way I was raised back
In what
then.
way? What do you mean by that?
I got my ass whooped when I deserved it.
Ah, so dad
And
kept you in line, you had discipline.
I didn't have half the ass whoopings I deserved. We were just taught a good work ethic. You know, take the garbage out, weed the garden, do your chores, and you'll get your allowance.
Nice.
I'm extremely proud of the way I was raised. Just old German farm folk.
So that's what Schmaltz is, German.
Yes,
Do you know what it translates to?
I do. There's 2 different translations. Schmaltzy with a Y, which makes it an adjective, is an old Yiddish term which refers to corny or sappy. And I'm like, well, that's totally me. And then other people, when they type it out, schmaltzy, it's IE, which is more of a nickname. And it's neither here nor there, but I appreciate when people know the difference, because I'm always the grammar police.
Well, I can tell you from looking it up. By the way, in high school, I had Herr Adams for 2 years, and I remember German. Did you ever take German?
I believe I had both those classes with you.
So Mr. Adams was a hoot. So, and I used a little of my German. I had some in college too. And I used a little bit of it when I was with Rob Wright over in Germany. And it was about the equivalent of a kindergartner. So people would laugh at me. Probably didn't know anything good to say. But it does say Schmaltz can also refer to rendered
Dripping,
animal fat, such,
dripping fat or lard.
yeah, pork, chicken, goose. Well, I think to myself, what in the world beats pork fat? Like pork fat, rendered pork fat is one of the best things in the world to cook with, to have. So pretty awesome. So you are awesome stuff, Mike. Schmaltz is awesome stuff. So I'm glad you were excited about your parents and the way they raised you. And that shows in how you are then, because, you have those same values in you that they were instilled in you by your parents. So Mike, we get through high school, you went to Michigan. I honestly don't know a lot post Michigan, like coming back to St. Joe area and then eventually getting to Arizona. So do me a favor and for the class, fill in some of the gaps after high school, go to U of M. What after that?
I dropped out.
Okay.
I just realized there's too much brainwashing going on, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at the time. In hindsight, I should have went to the engineering school because I love math and science. But now I got a job working in retail, became a manager, and this and that. And
Is that Jewel Osco?
yes,
I always think that thing is cool because I remember growing up, today you got Walmart and Meijer, how they combine the groceries and then the department store. Jewel Osco was that concept before all those guys ever did that.
yeah, two separate stores under the same roof.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So you went back after Michigan. Yeah, but Mike, it would have been kind of cool if you stayed in the engineering, like you said, because you had a passion for it, but also your dad was an engineer. But you realized, you didn't feel like it was doing you any good. So you came back. What did you think of being in retail? Was it decent or was it kind of a pain in the butt?
A little bit of both. I liked my job, but I wasn't making shit as far as a living goes. But I could afford a car and an apartment and blah blah blah. And after I lost my mom, I just quit. And I took 6 months or whatever off. Then I got involved. A good friend of mine told me to apply at IPC, Imperial Printing Company. He goes, tell them you want to get into pre-press or image assembly. I think you'll like it. And he was so right because I worked there for like 9, almost 10 years. And that job to me was never a job. It was more of a hobby because I loved it and I learned something new every single day. And I got promoted, I don't know, 6, 8 times, leapfrogging people who had seniority on me, but they didn't want to change their shift. I was willing to switch from third shift to first shift to second shift, back to third, whatever. They had families and other stuff going on. I never had any kids or a wife, so it didn't prohibit me from working different shifts. And that's how I was able to leapfrog. I worked my way all the way up to desktop publishing, and I just loved that industry. Like I say, I learned something new every single day.
That sounds like a good experience for you. Mike, where was Imperial Printing?
They had 3 different places. One was on Main Lane, the main facility. Then we had a warehouse and logistics center on Hawthorne, and I worked at 501 Colonial Drive, right by Lico here in Southtown St. Joe.
Oh yeah, I remember Lico. The one on Main Lane Wonder how far that is from South Shiraka Club. I remember going over there to play
It's
tennis.
right across the street.
Yeah, I thought I saw that before. Okay, so you get into this printing, but think about that, Mike. You stopped, you took a big risk because you took a jump from something you knew, managing people and running an operation, to go into something you knew nothing about on a recommendation of a friend, and yet you found out you had an aptitude for it. Like, I don't think going in and
Yeah,
assembling, I don't know, a printing
exactly.
press.
I had to take a decent cut in pay to restart, but on the other hand, I tripled my income within 3 or 4 years
Wow.
just because I got promotions and raises and this and that. I loved that job.
Hey,
And
so
then,
what was Imperial Printing? Was it commercial stuff? Were they printing on products? Were they printing newspapers, books, magazines? What were they doing?
no, books, magazines, medical journals, all kinds of stuff. Uh, it wasn't newspapers, but we had a web press and sheet fed press departments over there on Main Lane. And it was just a plethora of new things to learn and how to set it up to make the plates that went on the press. And I loved it. And eventually, another friend of mine from St. Joe High School, I think he was maybe a year behind us, he said, "You should think about buying my dad's business," which I ended up doing. It was a screen printing business, and it wasn't clothing, it was all like pressure sensitive materials. We made decals and labels and nameplates, and we'd print on Lexan and vinyl and polished polyester and all this other stuff. And I bought that business, and within a year, I reinvested some of my profits to make sign making equipment. So we were a print slash sign shop, and yeah, I loved doing it. And I was still working 60 hours a week in Imperial Printing.
Wow.
And
Running two businesses now.
luckily there was no conflict of interest because it was a totally different type of printing. And now it was just a fun 10 years of my life. And I ended up quitting IPC to put my full efforts into my own business. And I expanded it. I don't know, 400%. And for whatever reason, quitting that job was the best decision I ever made.
What do you mean, quitting the Imperial to run your own business?
Exactly. And old friend of mine who's since passed, bless his heart, he told me, he says, if you don't try it now, you're going to regret it the rest of your life. So that's what I did. And then I discovered Arizona.
Okay, wait. So slow down a second. So you were there 10 years ish in the first business. So was this like mid to late 90s when you were, when did you go to Arizona?
I bought the screen printing business in 2001.
Okay. Ooh, 9/11.
And I quit IPC about 2003 or 4.
Okay.
But because I quit that main job, I had more time on my hands and met some gal online playing poker on Yahoo. who has since become my best friend.
That's awesome.
Totally weird. It was on Valentine's Day of '05, the day before my birthday. And
2/14/05, you met a girl playing poker on Yahoo.
yeah, and she insisted I call her immediately. So I did. So within a day or two, we had emails and pictures and phone numbers and everything exchanged. And we were friends on the phone for like 11 months before we ever met in person. And she's been my best friend ever since. We we were involved romantically for a year and a half, 2 years, but that ran its course. But we have remained friends, and I'm forever grateful. I talk to
Mike,
her damn near every day.
what's her first name, Mike?
Kim.
Kim. Okay, is Kim the person that there's a photo of you in front of a building and you're crouching behind a seat and she's got a black shirt on and a black hat?
That is Kim. Yep.
All right, so we have it up on the screen so we know who Kim is. So, Mike, you say you met Kim playing poker online. Was Kim in Michigan or was she somewhere else?
No, she was in Arizona. She was born in some suburb of Chicago, but by the time she was 2 years old, her family had moved out to Arizona.
So I know you can't help who you love, but the thing is, you said earlier, I discovered Arizona. What you really wanted to say is you went online and instead of finding a local girl that you could have dated, you found a girl that was in Arizona. And because you liked her so much, you had to go out to Arizona.
Well, that's kind of how it started, but as a matter of fact, Pat, our relationship kind of ran its course, but I had already made up my mind. I'm moving to Arizona. I mean, we weren't involved anymore by the time I moved in March of '07.
Wow. So, Mike, what'd you do with your business? You kind of handed it off to someone else, sold it off, something,
I sold it.
and then you decide you're moving to Arizona. Now, that's a big move. I don't know if any of your friends or family locally said anything, but moving yourself across the country and starting, finding a place to live, finding work. How'd you do that? Did you just decide, Phoenix was a good place, or what'd you do?
I liked the climate. I liked the fact that there was money to be made, which is stupid, but I just wanted something new. Uh, I've had other friends tell me, "Oh, man, we admired you for getting the hell out of Southwest Michigan and blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, hindsight's 2020. It was fun at the time. I'm glad to be back home." Um, I had some weird jobs in Arizona. The first job I got was driving a tow truck, which, you know, a month before that happened, you couldn't have told me it was going to happen. That's the way life is. I just met some guy and he told me how much money he was making, and I applied, got a job. He trained me, and I learned how to hustle. I mean, we're talking mid to late 2010s, '07, and I made a damn good living. I was able to buy a beautiful home and whatever. Then I got a job helping out a different friend running a used car lot.
You were a used car sales guy?
Well, Pat, I did a lot of mechanic work. I do brake jobs and muffler jobs and be mounting and balancing tires, all this stuff, and be covered in grease and grime, and then have to go in the office and write up a sales contract. for a sale. And I was also in charge of all the online advertising. That was kind of fun, but me and that guy butted heads and blah blah. So then I went. One of my drinking buddies was a aerospace engineer for Goodrich Aerospace, and he got me into a place called All Set Precision, and I managed that tool and die shop. The owner, he would have rather been on his jig grinder doing machine work than answer the phones and print blueprints and schedule jobs and talk to all these engineers. I did all that shit. And then, I think it was 2008 when a certain somebody took office, our workflow slowed down to a piss trickle, so I got laid off.
Hmm.
So
Man, you're a jack of all trades.
then I went, because I was able to collect unemployment for a couple months. I took that time and drove 100 some miles every day to go to real estate school. Got my real estate license. And did that for a while. Went back to work at the towing company in the office.
Residential, or were you selling commercial properties?
Residential.
Okay.
But, yeah, where was I? Oh, yeah. I ended up quitting that because I was not willing to quit my regular job and rely on real estate commissions. You know, I didn't have enough capital. But whatever, that was fun. And, got back into retail management, running a night crew at a Walmart. And, I forget what all happened, but, they fired me for a safety issue, which was a bunch of bullshit. But anyway,
Let me stop you a second and say Walmart, walking into Walmart is taking a safety risk for anyone that does it. And I've shopped there, and I don't mind the prices, but I think it's always an interesting thing. And you've probably seen this, Mike, but there's websites out there of the crazy stuff that goes on in Walmart, or the people that go to Walmart. And you have on your slide, it's up on the screen, one of the things you told me to put on your slide was a cartoon, and it's Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz sitting next to Alice in Wonderland, and it says, "I've seen some weird shit." And I bet you, in all the things you've seen, I bet you saw some pretty weird stuff at Walmart.
I can't even describe half of it on YouTube. You have no idea. But anyway, after that, I went to work at a plasma donation center, and I got interested in that. And eventually, I became a phlebotomist.
Phlebotomist. All right.
Sticking
Can you still
needles
do
in
that
people.
today?
I could.
I didn't know that you had phlebotomy in your background. That's pretty awesome, man. Well,
Well,
so
I
the
know.
same hands that can tow a car or change the tires and the brakes and things on a car can also have the feather touch of putting a needle in someone's arm.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And Pat, that's something I might have alluded to earlier. I'm proud of the way I was raised. You know what? Whether I'm pushing a broom or doing brain surgery, doesn't matter. Just be the best you can be at whatever job you got. And that's always been my attitude. And I'm just glad my parents raised me that way.
Well, it's nice to give homage to your parents, and it's your creed, so you should own it and be proud of it and all the things you've done in your life and you've owned. So, Mike, let me go through this real quick. I'm looking at some pictures on your slides. I'm going to start in the bottom left is a picture of your high school photo. Good looking guy, big, big hair, young looking, big smile on your face. Okay, we're going to go round clockwise on this. So, actually counterclockwise. So, if I look at the one to the right of that, there's a picture. I think that's you and a dog and two tents sitting in front of a campfire. One's blue, one's green. Is that when did you do camping in Michigan or was it more back in Arizona?
That was
Arizona. That's a lot of trees.
that was the first time I discovered one of my favorite spots to camp, which was east of Boyne Falls, Michigan.
Okay. Been up
Did
there. I know that.
lot of bird hunting and archery deer hunting up there, and my buddy's dog and my dog, and just a blast.
So that's before you went to Arizona. Then
Yes,
there's a picture of you with a bigger white dog. Who's that?
I can't see it, but that's probably Banjo,
Yeah, big blonde looking dog. And you got,
a yellow lab.
yeah, smell yellow on your face.
And I was actually pulling his cheek back so his eyes looked
Yes.
funny, but he was my good buddy. First lab I ever had, I rescued him, and he loved going up north camping.
I bet you said he's a lab, so he probably helped you go chase down the animals you're hunting.
A little bit. He was not the best hunting dog, but he ran himself so ragged on his first trip up there, he couldn't get out of bed. I didn't know what was wrong, but it occurred to me a week or two later, he just was dog tired.
Poor Banjo. All right, there's another dog in the picture you told me the name of. I'm going to skip ahead and go to the other dog. It's called Tracker. What's the story on Tracker?
Okay, Banjo got hit and broke his spine, and I had to put him down.
Okay.
And back at the time, a current girlfriend had a coworker who sent me an ad in like the South Bend Tribune for chocolate labs. So we drove down there. Mom and dad were both yellow labs, but the entire litter was chocolate. I picked up two or three, and Tracker, as soon as I picked him up, he licked me. And I said, that's the one.
Well, the
And
picture's definitely an older dog, so you must have had Tracker quite a few years.
oh, I got him at 8 weeks old, and he lived to be 12.
Wow.
And he had 1,000,000 miles on him. If I'd go on a bird hunt and walk 4 miles, he would put 40 miles on, back and forth, left and right, left and right. And he loved playing fetch. And uh, best dog I ever had.
That's awesome, Tracker. And then, Mike, you're older in the bottom right. You're by a truck. You're holding a little puppy with little white socks, and he looks like a little kind of orange yellow dog.
That was Riley.
Okay, that's Riley. That's more recent.
Yeah, I got him right after I had to put Tracker down. I put Tracker down at late July of 14, and 2 months later I got Riley. Another rescue, 8 weeks old.
So why'd you switch from two big dogs, like hunting dogs, to small little Riley?
Um, Mostly because I couldn't give them the lifestyle they deserved.
Run and
I was in
yes, hide and
Arizona.
everything.
I couldn't go out bird hunting like I used to and camping, so I wanted a little ankle biter apartment dog. And I loved them just as much.
I bet. Well, you have these dogs, Mike, and you put it on your, interests, dogs. So I'm curious. I don't think your family had dogs when you were growing up, did they?
Oh yeah,
You did. Well,
I had a
where do you think your
collie.
love for dogs came from? It sounds like you love them as companions, but also to go hunting and stuff. Did you have a dog when you were in Arizona?
Yeah, Tracker moved with me out there, and then I got Riley and moved back here with Riley. Then he got hit, unfortunately, while I was laid up in the hospital. But um, no, I just realized when I was out in Arizona, I would love another Labrador. I just can't give him that lifestyle anymore. So that's why I got the smaller one. And no, I was raised with all kinds of dogs,
All
but
right.
I
Couple more
never,
pictures.
I never
Keep going.
loved them as much as I do in my older age. If that
In
makes
the
any
middle,
sense.
it does. In the middle of your slides, though, you got a motorcycle. I just got to ask because was that yours?
Yep, I bought it on 4th of July. What better day to buy a Harley Davidson?
About how old were you when you bought that?
Well, it was 2001.
Okay. So,
So I was
um,
35.
did you just decide you needed to have a Harley? And had you ever ridden a motorcycle?
Only dirt bikes. But no, I loved that thing for the year and a half I had it. But I just realized, man, it's not perfect for having a pet, to take them with you. So I ended up selling it to some guy I actually went to grade school with at St. Paul's.
Jeez.
Who I've,
Well, it looks
who
like
I've
a beautiful bike.
yeah.
Okay. One more question on the left. You got a picture of you. Try to picture this picture. It's you, hiking boots, jean shorts, red sweatshirt. You're standing on some rocks above a lake. Where's that at?
Lake of the Clouds.
Yes, okay. I thought that was Lake of the Clouds in UP. So when
Up
did
in
you
the
go there?
Porky.
Because Mike, get offended when I say this, but everybody looking at these pictures can see your body form has changed a lot over the years. And when you were in the Lake of the Clouds, it could just be the sweatshirt you're wearing, but you look like
No,
you're very,
I was huge.
yeah, but you also look like you're muscle bound, like your legs look really strong.
Well, that was 96. So
So only 10 years, 12 years after high school. Okay. So you went up to the UP. Was that like one of your camping trips or one of your trips to check out, outdoors?
interesting you mentioned that. I went up with Jason DeVore and his older brother Tim. They had a family cabin up there in a town called Watersmeet.
Hmm.
And we went exploring all over. We went to Bond Falls, which was brilliant. And that Lake of the Clouds picture is actually hilarious because I was at a rummage sale and saw some coffee table book about cool pictures from Michigan or something like that. And it
Okay.
was from the exact same angle. And it was like a 2-page spread. And I opened it up and then I pulled up that picture and showed it to a friend of mine. I said, "This is hilarious." The exact same spot, exact same angle. But no, that was 96. And that was my first trip to the Upper Peninsula and was hooked on it ever since. Spent many a weekend up there with dogs, camping and hunting and this and that.
Well, the pictures are awesome. It's really good to hear more about what you did between high school and now. Mike, there's one more on here, and it's a picture of you with "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" And it says Michael, I think it's your name. It says Employee of the Month, May I can't tell when. Where were you employee of the month where you put that picture on there?
That was when I was a phlebotomist
Ah,
at CSL Plasma in Tempe, Arizona.
nice.
They would, I knew it was coming. They'd take your picture and say, "What's your favorite movie?" So I mentioned "Oh Brother Waldo," and they came up with that caricature,
That's very cool.
which I found hilarious. I used to have two 8x10 copies of it and a 6x9, but I lost them when I moved back to Michigan. I lost everything. But no, they'd post those on the wall, and then they have, you know, 20 or 30 of them up there for the donors to look at and blah, blah, blah. That was fun.
So I got one more I'm sharing up there for the people that are going to watch this recording, and it's from the yearbook, and it shows graduation day, and it's a top and bottom black and white photo from the yearbook. The first person in the top is Tony Dowell. The second one is you, has your name next to it, and it was you doing one of the two class addresses from our 84 graduation.
Yep.
What tell everybody on this, what was your inspiration for deciding to try out for, apply for, whatever the process was, and then get selected to do a class speech?
Honestly, I was just a pawn. Tony and Andy wrote most of the speech, and they knew I was the perfect, useful idiot to get up and do it. And I did it, honestly, just as a joke. And I've been told by other classmates, "Oh, I was just told, vote for Mike, vote for Mike, vote for Mike," and ended up getting more votes than anybody. It was
I
meant
think,
as a joke.
well, I think a lot of people enjoyed it, and I think it says, I'm trying to look on the book on the page right now, but I was reading in the yearbook. I don't have the paper yearbook, but it says, hang on a second, I'm trying to read this.
I think it just said something after Tony and Mike gave their speeches, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
here we go. It says, from the Stevensville United Methodist Church gave the invocation. Tony Dowell and Mike Schmaltz gave their speeches on what it is like being a senior. So would you characterize, the yearbook said that, but would you characterize your speech as being what it is like to be a senior?
Yes and no.
So from your perspective, obviously you said you had ghostwriters, Tony Dowell and Andy Williams. So you had some inspiration, some help. And you got up because it sounds like you were good at delivery. So when you got up and you made everybody laugh, what did you think? I mean, what was your overall thought or theme around what the speech was about?
That's a great question. I remember telling my father, this was just meant as a joke, but somehow I got the most votes. And he was kind of downplaying it until he heard it live, and he thought it was brilliant. I'm like, I'm just an idiot. you know, uh, I recited the first paragraph at one of our reunion planning meetings, and everybody laughed. And I remember other bits and pieces just from memory. I never had a hard copy, but I had heard back in the day that Mark Williams' dad had it recorded on VHS, And I asked him about it. He goes, I have no idea where it would be. But whatever.
Well, remember, Mike, we are going to do very shortly a video meeting with Tony Dowell, and
Yes.
we will talk to Tony and get his perspective on it. And maybe he claims that even at this day, 40 years later, to have either the words from it or an understanding of what it was. But, you know, you have a very kind style of saying, you know, self-deprecating, Mike. You're saying somebody else wrote it and you were just lucky somebody picked you. Mike, if you didn't deliver it and you didn't have the passion and the ability to get up and say it, you wouldn't have been picked. So give yourself some credit for having the guts to go do it, and then the skill to make people laugh and enjoy their day, because that's what those things are about, right? They pick people to give speeches, to inspire everybody, and to make people have a good time. And you did that.
That's a very, very kind way to describe that. Pat, this is weird as hell, and neither here nor there, but I remember sitting in the crowd before I gave that speech when they called my name to come up there and give it. Do you remember Shelley McGregor?
Yeah.
She was sitting next to me. She put her hand on my knee and said, "Go, Mike, go."
Nice.
Don't know why I remember that, but I do.
See if we can find her.
Her last name now is, I believe, is Chris, Criss.
Well, I think I have the see if I can find her senior picture. Should be in the yearbook, right?
Yeah, and her older sister Rhonda was dating my older cousin Mark Rimple, who passed away just a year after my sister did in 79.
All right, let's see if we can find her in this yearbook.
She was good friends with Karen Fortuna back in the day. Shelley McGregor.
She's up on the screen. Go, Mike, go.
Bless her heart.
Hey, Mike, I'm getting to the end of this. In full disclosure, I had a long work day. My son, so my wife and I have 5 children. Our third, Zachary, and his wife, Brenna, our daughter-in-law, had a baby this morning. And so it's our third granddaughter for Susan and
I saw those pictures. That's awesome.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Pictures.
How many grandkids do you have now?
We've got 3. We're very blessed with 3
Nice.
kids, 3 grandkids. Well, 5 children, 3 grandkids. And actually, I could probably show a photo here. Let me find it. But what I guess I wanted to say was, I appreciate you taking time tonight to tell the class a little bit about your life and share that with me. I knew some of it, but some of it I didn't know. So thank you for taking time to do that. But
I love these podcasts. I feel a little bit on the spot because it's about me, but I love
Why
it
not?
regardless.
Why not? Why not make it about you? So, here,
Well, the next one's about you.
Yeah, we got to do one. I don't know. People probably get enough of me on these to get a sense of what's going on. Let me see if I can pull up a photo of me and my wife and the baby. Yeah, I've got some awkward ones because here, I'll share this. And then you guys will see what, but I'm like, okay, my wife holds the baby like a mother would hold the baby. And I hold the baby like I'm holding a loaf of bread. Listen, eggs that are very fragile. So we were just in the hospital just a little bit ago with son and daughter-in-law and the little baby Abby Lou. So there's a
Abby
picture.
Lou.
Abby Lou.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So Mike, let's finish this way. What would you want anybody to know about your life today, or to reach out and contact you? Any final thoughts on anything, either about you, messages to classmates, anything you want to share?
It'd take me about 6 hours to think about everything, but I'm open to talk to anybody. I I love all my friends and classmates. A lot of people say they hated high school for whatever reason. I loved high school. Um, I welcome anyone to contact me in whatever way, shape, or form. Uh, I got a million stories to tell.
You do. You have really good energy. You have lots of memories about the school. You have a passion for people in and around the area, and especially our classmates, and not even just 84, but other years. I know you do that. Um, in fact, I know you love dogs so much, and you are around sometimes your friends or neighbors' dogs. Maybe you should make an appeal to the class of 84 or others living in the Stevensville, St. Joe area that if they need someone to walk their dog or take care of the pup for a little bit, Mike might be interested.
Absolutely. And Benny Rydell told me, hey, you should start a dog sitting business, which I'd thought about for a year and a half before he mentioned that. It would just be more conducive in my situation to just dog sit. It's like all the love and none of the financial veterinary bills responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you forgot to ask me about celebrities.
Was that one you told me about? I was supposed to remember. I apologize. What was it about? Oh, yes. Sorry. Wait, before we do that, I just want to say what's up on the screen again for everybody is Jen, your friend. And I'll just say, for those of you in St. Joe, Stevensville area that know Mike, um, send him a text, send him an email, give him a call. He'd love to catch up with people. He's around sometimes at some of the local haunts. And I'm glad you have a support system with others like Jen. And Mike told me that in his life, he's met quite a few celebrities. All right, Mike. So tell me who some of these people are, other than me, of course.
So I'm visiting some friends of mine out in Santa Rafael, California. It's up in Marin County, north of the bay.
Okay.
And the friends I was staying with, they didn't like the bar scene. They didn't like alcohol or beer. So I walk down the mountain and I go to this bar. Might have been called the B Street Bar because the streets in Santa Rafael are like concentric circles. The innermost being A Street, the next one's B Street, next one's C Street, etc. Anyway, I walk into this bar and there's a big banner up over the stage that says Molly's Madness. So the first thing I do is buy the entire bar around.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. I guess it was a way to make good friends quick from out of town.
Okay.
So this guy Dave Molly, he's playing solo acoustic up on stage, and after an hour or so, some guy rides up on a Harley and parks right in front of the double French doors opening. And he comes in, sits down. I said, "Get this guy a beer too." he ends up going up on stage and takes Dave Molly's guitar and plays 3 or 4 Allman Brothers songs. I didn't think anything of it. In the meantime, I'm hitting it off with some local girl named Lisa, hot, skinny blonde. And as the night goes on, she goes, "Well, hey, after the bar closes, let's go get some breakfast and go back to my place." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, the out of town angle is working." I'm like 33 or something, 32.
In your prime.
In the meantime, we drive to a nearby town called Novato, go to a Denny's. Well, as we're walking into the store, that same dude who played guitar in the middle of Molly's Madness, he comes walking up next to us. He ends up sitting down with us in a booth. And he tells me he's Greg Allman.
Wow.
And I'm a few drinks into it, half in the bag, and I'm like, "Yeah, you're full of shit." Blah blah blah. He pulls out his driver's license, and sure as hell, it's fucking Greg Allman.
That's crazy. And you
So
bought the dude a beer.
yeah. So then we argued about who was paying for breakfast, and he won. He picked up the tab. So on the way out of there, we're walking back to Lisa's car, and I'm still thinking, I might get lucky. Well, she's hanging behind me 10 or 15 feet, talking to him. We get in her car. He's driving a green Corvette convertible. Anyway, she drops me off back at the bar I met her at. And I said, I thought we were going to go back to your place. She goes, maybe tomorrow. So she drops me off. I had to walk up the mountain back to my friend's house. And she jumps in his green Corvette convertible and off they roar.
So she got a better offer. She got Greg Allman.
Yeah. So, short story long, the next night I go back to that same bar, and this Dave Molly, who I'd spoken with the night before quite a bit, he says, "Hey, did you realize who that was that came up and played a few songs?" I said, "Well, I found out later."
That's hilarious.
And I told him the whole story about this Lisa gal. He goes, I wouldn't worry about her. She's a floozy. She's somebody different every night, blah, blah, blah. But that was just a hilarious thing. And the next morning at my friend's apartment up the hill, I'm snickering and laughing out loud as I'm waking up. And my friend peeks her head out the bedroom door. She goes, "What's so funny?" I said, "You'll never believe what happened." And I told her the story. And that was just amazing and fun and depressing at the same time.
That's a pretty cool story. I don't know if you remember, but in the 90s, you came over to Rochester and stayed with Susan and me, and we hung out a little bit. You went to a mall. My biggest recollection of the whole time we were together is you wanted to go to a local mall and you got a leather coat. That's all I remember.
I don't remember that, but I do remember visiting you right after our 10-year reunion in 94. In fact, I was surprised that you were surprised that I play guitar. I brought a guitar when I came to visit you, and your oldest son was still like in a high chair, and he kept saying, "Mine, mine, mine."
Oh my gosh, the good old days. Hey, I got to wrap this up, but Mike, this has been really good. Um, thank you for taking the time again to tell your story. And you know, let's just make sure we keep doing more of this and providing inspiration for the classmates because I think it's great to hear our stories, for people to share a little bit about their lives, what
Indeed,
and
indeed, and
and
I'm looking
everybody's got a
forward
Greg
to.
Allman story, not to
Um,
diminish your story, but everybody's got a Greg Allman story. So I really love that you shared that.
yeah, and by the way, that solo acoustic act, Dave Molly, when he came up to me the next night, he goes, "Did you realize who that was?" And I said, "Yeah, I found out later." He goes, "Man, I felt this big," and he put his fingertips together. He goes, "I don't know any Greg Allman songs." So Greg Allman says, "Well, just loosen the strap on that guitar. I'll play them myself."
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, mister, you go get some rest. We got something to do tomorrow night. I'll catch you up with you tomorrow. I'll give you a call. And thanks for doing this. And I hope you have a great evening.
And our next guest is tomorrow at 7, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.